Tellico Village Broadcasting, your source of programming highlighting active lifestyles in our beautiful surroundings.
Welcome to another Loudon County update. I'm here with Loudon County Commission's head chairman, Mr. Henry Cullen. Henry, good morning.
Good morning to you,
I
Elliot.
have missed you, my friend.
Well, I had a little detour along the way. I spent a little time at Tenova Hospital in Turkey Creek to get my gallbladder out.
My goodness.
So, another surprise.
Life is filled with surprises at our age, Henry.
Well, good thing it doesn't last long.
That's good. All right, now we get into the real crux of the issue. What is the county talking about now?
Well, the first thing I'm going to tell everybody in the village, early voting's going on right now. And it's at the Chota Rec Center from 10 to 6. It is the presidential primary. If you miss early voting at the Chota Rec Center, you can head over to Roane State or the county office building. Here's what is at stake for the village. Up for re-election is the county assessor. Mike Campbell is running. He's been the assessor for a long time in the county. He does an outstanding job, and you can tell he does well because he had no competition. Up next is the clerk of the courts. That used to be Lisa Niles' spot. But Lisa was appointed by Chancellor Williams to be the clerk and master. Probably about a little more than a year ago, the county commission had to appoint a new clerk of the courts, and we appointed Steve Harrelson. He's now the incumbent and running for re-election. He's running against Mike Newman. Mike is a law enforcement officer from Loudon City. So those are the two choices you will have to vote for the clerk of the courts. We're looking for a good turnout. In the presidential primary, you can vote for a Democrat or you can vote for a Republican. It'll be your choice. But my message is get out and vote so your voice is heard. So, early voting, Chota Rec Center, 18th through the 21st, which is Friday.
And we turned out yesterday to vote, Carol and I, and it was pretty crowded up there. So I think that the turnout's off to a good start.
Well, I hope so. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about, Elliot, deals with the courthouse. This is an ongoing saga in the county. Everybody knows on April 23rd last year that the courthouse burned. How it started, probably up for debate. But the bottom line was it got extensive damage due to a fire. So the question comes down, what do we do to replace it? We've been around and around. First, we looked at a site on the river, right beyond the Loudon County Police Station. That turned out to be a brownfield, which means, according to TDEC, that it's contaminated. So we chose not to use that site. Now, if you look across the road, 11, where the tower is for Loudon, that's called the Hutch property and the site of the creamery. That's still in play. And we've also asked Michael Brady Incorporated, the architects, to take a look at the old courthouse and see what we can do to modernize it and utilize it in the future. The courthouse means a lot to the Loudon County people and Loudon City. It is a historic building. It's on the National Registry. And we want to preserve that as much as we can. Mm-hmm. And the issue comes down, can you add on to it or not? Well, we commissioned a study by Michael Brady Incorporated to determine whether you could add on to it or not add on to it. We should have that back in about 4 weeks. The other push is to go to the Justice Center. The Justice Center on 11 is where the jail and the sheriff's office is, and it would cut out moving prisoners in a vehicle from the jail to the courthouse. Now, I got to tell you, if it was my preference, and I'm big on officer safety, I'd probably go to the Justice Center. But there's a ruling that says the court has to stay in the county seat. The county seat is Loudon City. So that one's still up in the air. A lot of discussion. In fact, at last night's workshop, it probably took up most of the time. And the residents of Loudon City come to the meeting and they express their desire to keep it there, to keep it on the courthouse lawn, and to preserve it as much as we can. The insurance company's paying the bill. They didn't total the building. So they're going to restore it back to where it was. Any additions we make would have to be on the county, and we've set aside $7 million in a bond issue. We haven't issued them, but we did it by refinancing other bonds to get the interest rate down and be able to afford it. But that total is $7 million. So it's still a touch and go situation. So stay tuned. I'll keep you up to date as to what's happening on it. But it's still an open item.
But from what we're hearing right now, with the fact that the 150th anniversary is next June, right? June 2nd, I believe?
June 20th.
June 20th. Okay, I knew there was a 2 in there somewhere. It's probably not realistic that the courthouse would be anywhere near close to a completion date by then.
Absolutely not. They're not going to finish phase 1, Elliot, which is wrapping the building with plastic, putting a temporary roof on, and trying to dry it out. During the night of the fire, they poured over 1 million gallons of water on that building to put the fire out. So that tells you what an extensive repair it's going to be. Now, will I make a guess as to when it's going to be completed? Absolutely not, but it won't be June 20th, 2020.
Okay, all right. So folks, you heard it here first. It's not going to be done by the 150th anniversary. Don't even expect it to be anywhere near close to being done. That's just the way it is.
You know,
but it's good to know that it's going to be restored to its original, 100% original building size and structure and condition.
Well, here's what we're working to preserve. It's on the National Registry of Historic Buildings. We're working hard to keep it there. And there's some specs that have to be done to keep it there, but there's also some things that have to be done to bring it up to code. Sprinklers and various other safety items in the building.
Yep, and you can't lead prisoners up that side railing anymore, so there's obviously a lot of things there that are no longer in today's code.
The issue is they have to transport the prisoners from the Justice Center to the courthouse, and then they take them up the fire escape in the back.
Yep.
And if you remember a few years ago what happened in Loudon County, one of the deputies got shot. We don't want that to happen. So that's why, if I had a preference, and I can't change the law, I'd move it to the Justice Center, but I don't think that's going to be in the realm of things.
But that seems to make the most sense in terms of the fluidity of being able to keep the prisoners from the jail, get it over to the court system without any incidents.
I do not want a deputy hurt or killed in this county.
No.
Period.
And we don't either. Okay, getting back on, speaking of the jail, that's our next topic.
Okay, the world famous Guider Bed and Breakfast.
Yes.
The addition is almost complete. It was supposed to have been done in February, early February. It got pushed back to mid-March. We are planning to open it either mid-March or the beginning of April and move the prisoners into the new section. Now, here's the plans that are in progress right now. I personally want everybody in the county, and Tellico Village obviously, to have the opportunity to tour the new jail. I want you to see where your $17.5 million went and why we had to do what we did. So that's in the planning stage, and we'll announce it both in the press. Hopefully before we do it, I'll be back here to do another county update. But the plan is, have you come over, we'll take you through in groups and a tour, show you the jail, we'll have a couple refreshments, and acquaint everybody with where their tax dollars went. I personally think it is a great thing for the county. Our old jail would hold 90 inmates, male and female. This one will hold 300. Right now, there's 150 in jail. So, and I also have this philosophy. If you did something bad and need to be in jail, that's where you should be. So, it'll expand it to accommodate the increase in prisoners, and in the future, if we have to expand it again, there's room out in the back behind the extension to add another 300.
So we don't have to worry about turning prisoners out because of overcrowding in the current system when the new jail opens, correct?
I hope not. I don't think so. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not in law enforcement. But if you did something bad and you need to be in jail, that's where you should be.
Yep.
For the protection of everybody in Loudon County. Now, there is one thing that's a problem. If
What's
you
that?
drive by the new jail, you would see that it butts up against the Loudon County Fire and Rescue.
Yes.
In fact, it's almost up to their wall.
And we've talked about that being moved to different property areas, right?
Okay, here's the issue. We knew this was going to happen, and so did the chief. They went ahead and purchased land on Sugarland, which is just off the interstate. And they plan to build a new firehouse there. Our goal is to help them build that fire department building, get them moved and relocated, and then we're going to put a dozer through their old building and use the land either for parking or expansion in the future.
Right.
But that's the goal. Our next step now is to get the fire department relocated.
So it looks like that building, the Loudon County Fire and Rescue building that's currently sitting in front of the new jail, might be there for a little while until their new building gets the structure built.
It will, but if I remember right, they relocated a lot of their equipment out of there, and I can't speak for Chief Hart. But yes, that's the goal, and it's going to take a little bit. I think they'll probably go with an engineered building, so I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm not a contractor, but our goal is to move them. They're going to turn the footprint back to the county, the land that it sits on, and we'll utilize it in the future.
Okay. And now it looks like we get to a favorite topic for all of us here in Loudon County, the Loudon County budget.
Elliot, the budget process will start next month in March. And I'm going to tell you, it is going to be a difficult budget for the year 20 and 2021. Because you know we split the budget. We start the fiscal year July 1st and we end it June 30th. So it splits 2 years. It's going to be tough. There's a lot of pressure on the county for increased funding. If you read the News Herald, the school has come And their first blush, and it hasn't been approved yet, is a $1.4 million increase. Now remember, we gave them the growth money last year to the tune of $1 million.
Right.
Now we were able to contain that within the tax rate. $1.4 million is going to be a big bite. Their money is their penny is worth about $100,000. Remember, they got a 65-35 split with Lenore City.
Mm-hmm.
So if they get the full 1.4 million, and that's still up for debate, you're looking at a 14 penny increase. So your rate would go from 18035 to 19435. I'm not against the schools, but I think we have to take a good look at their budget. The sheriff's budget this coming year will probably put a lot of pressure on the county. Now we're lucky here, we budget the tax revenue from property tax at 98%. We usually collect about 102%. That's back taxes that are paid, the penalties.
Right.
So we're okay on the tax rate for real property. We budget the total county budget, and we usually spend about 94% of the total. And that reverts back at the end of the year to what's called the fund balance. Thank God sales tax revenue goes up, different revenues go up, so we're able to balance the budget out even though we program a deficit into it in the beginning of the year. Last year when we closed out the books for June 30th this year, we ended up, instead of $1.5 million in the hole, we ended up with $256,000 ahead of budget. Now, as the pressure mounts, it gets tighter to do it. Stay tuned. I'm going to do the best I can as vice chairman of the budget committee to keep the county fiscal responsibility in mind and to always keep the taxpayers in mind.
And we're lucky to have you there in that position to do that for us.
Well, I appreciate that.
I'll be the first, but not the last, to say that to you. Now we've got the Loudon County 150th anniversary. We've already heard from Henry that the courthouse is not going to be in play in time for that, but let's find out what Bo Carey's got in mind.
Okay, the Loudon County 150th anniversary is going to take place on Saturday, June 20th, 2020 at the courthouse. Bo Carey and a team are working on everything that's going to go into this celebration. It's a big celebration, 150 years. And working with Bo Carey is a villager, Dennis Preston. Some of you may know him. He's been here a long time. And by the way, he's a Ford retiree. And he's working hand in hand with Bo Carey and the 150th anniversary committee. Now I'm going to tell you something you don't want to miss. In the courthouse, there's a time capsule that was placed in the ground. Now the conversation is, we're going to unearth that. So the debate was, do we do it ahead of time so we make sure we're okay? Or we do it cold turkey, pull it out of the ground and unearth it?
And be surprised.
Well, the current thinking right now is we're going to pull it out of the ground on the 20th. I just hope it doesn't end up like Geraldo Rivera and Al Capone's vault.
Al Capone's vault, yes, empty.
Anyway, mark your calendars. Plan to be at the courthouse that day. It'll be something you don't want to miss.
Just for that alone. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, we've covered all the topics. We've covered all the items. Folks, as always, it's a pleasure to have Henry Cullen here, our chairman of the Loudon County Commission. And I want to thank you again, my friend. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you all, and I'll be back as we get into the budget process and the conversation starts heating up. on what's going to happen. I'll keep you advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Loudon County Update, made possible by all the volunteers here at Tellico Village Broadcasting. I'm Elliot Domans, and I look forward to seeing you and Henry next month.